Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm Tammy Stackelhouse, fibromyalgia coach, author, and founder of the International Fibromyalgia Coaching Institute. The goal of this podcast is to empower you with access to the dream team of experts and coaches I've discovered are key to living the fibro life you love. From the comfort of your own home, and maybe even your pajamas, I'll help you take back control of your life and health. To help out with FibroFog, I always include full show notes and additional resources at fibromyalgiapodcast.com. You're listening to the Fibromyalgia Podcast with Tammy Stackelhouse, episode 67. Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm your coach, Tammy Stackelhouse, and welcome to our third Stories of Hope and Healing events. In today's episode, I'm going to be interviewing 3 of my most recent graduates about how they have improved their fibromyalgia over the last few months. Now, you're going to hear from Penny, who has had fibromyalgia for 20 years or so. We're not really sure because she didn't have the right diagnosis to begin with. You're going to hear from Nichi, who found this podcast in the second year of her fibromyalgia journey. You're also going to hear from Dawn, who was just diagnosed a few months ago. So we've got a whole range of people here for you to hear from and learn from. Before we get to the interviews, though, I also want to share with you a piece of the welcome, the address that I gave for our graduation ceremony. And in this piece of my talk, I share some really impressive statistics for this particular graduating class. I'll just leave that out there as a teaser, and you'll hear that in just a minute. For those of you who like today's episode, hearing these stories of hope and healing, if you're interested in checking out our other 2 episodes where we've done this, you can find those in episode 45 and episode 56. So just look on your favorite podcasting app or just go to today's show notes page, which is fibromyalgiapodcast.com/67, and we will have those links out there for you. I also wanted to mention really quick the training program that these graduates have just completed. We are actually enrolling in a new program right now as I record this. And so we are going to be enrolling people during the summer to begin our next training program. So if you hear something that sounds interesting to you and you want to check out more information on our Certified Fibromyalgia Advisor training program, just again, go to today's show notes. We'll have a link there where you can get a lot more information. Just go to fibromyalgiapodcast.com/67 and we will have a link to where you can learn more information about the training program that these ladies are talking about. And of course, if you ever want to connect with a coach, we'll have a link out there for that as well. With that, I want to go ahead and share with you the information that I shared during graduation with a few statistics and some fun information about how our graduates improved. And then after that, you will hear me interview all 3 of our graduates. I do want to say before we go into this that you are going to be hearing some specific things that these ladies did to help improve their fibromyalgia. And I just really want to stress that anything that you hear in here that sounds interesting to you, take that information to your doctor. The information that you're hearing here, of course, should not be considered medical advice. It is for informational purposes only. But please do take the information that you learned to your doctor and see if the things these ladies did would be helpful for you. With that, I will go ahead and lead you into our interviews and enjoy. Okay, so Fibromyalgia. For those of you who are not familiar, this is a chronic pain condition. There are four primary symptoms. It causes brain fog, it causes widespread body pain, unrelenting fatigue, and really terrible sleep. One of my clients said, you sleep and sleep and sleep, and you wake up and you feel like you never slept. And I think that's the perfect description of fibromyalgia sleep. There's actually a lot of things that are going on inside the body. This is definitely not just something that is all in your head. So if anybody has ever told you that, or if you thought this was a psychosomatic illness, it is definitely not. There have been lots of research studies done. They found all kinds of different things going wrong in the body, everything from mitochondrial dysfunction to our nervous system processing pain in different ways. We have a 2x pain response. So for instance, if somebody feels pain at, say, a level 2, for somebody with fibromyalgia, that same amount of pain would feel like a 4, plus 10 different areas of our brain light up when we experience pain. So there's definitely things that are different physically in our bodies when it comes to fibromyalgia. And those are all keys to how we can find ways to feel better. Fibromyalgia is not a rare illness. It affects 2 to 4% of the world's population. So that means a minimum of 300 million people in the world diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and a minimum of 10 million people here in the US. It means about 1 in 20 women are diagnosed with fibromyalgia and 1 in 37 men. The CDC has said that women are twice as likely to be diagnosed as men. So it's about 2 women with fibromyalgia for every 1 man. That doesn't mean that guys, don't get fibromyalgia. They do. And I personally think that number is probably even closer than that. It's still just not very common, for men to be diagnosed. And the challenge with fibromyalgia, as most of you with fibromyalgia know, is that your doctors don't really know what to do with you. I am often speaking at Oregon Health and Science University to their medical students. And sometimes when I am there as part of their pain patient panel, that's the first time that they're really hearing anything in class about fibromyalgia. Sometimes they have a 1-hour class on fibromyalgia. Sometimes it's just a mention as part of another class. And so doctors really aren't being taught what to do with us. So it's not really their fault when you go to the doctor and they don't really know what to do with you. But it's also, really explains why it is that you are having such trouble finding the help that you need. Your doctors just aren't trained in that. But we want you to know that there's hope. Even though there's no cure, even though your doctor doesn't know what to do with you, there are a lot of things that can be done to help improve your fibromyalgia. A lot of them you can do on your own. A lot of them are over the counter or therapies that you can just go do yourself. Sometimes you do need a doctor as well. So in the ideal world, you would have somebody who could help you with the medical side of things. As you will hear from our graduates today, there's often a lot of other things that go alongside fibromyalgia that also need to be treated and addressed. And for me, I would much rather have a doctor who is willing to learn alongside me. There are very few true fibromyalgia specialists in the world, doctors who are specialists. So I would much rather have a doctor who is just willing to learn, that will be open to suggestions that I bring in and say, hey, could we try this? Or what about this research? Or what about this treatment? And have somebody that can help you with that. But of course, you do need an expert on your team. And that's where our fibromyalgia coaches and advisors can really step in and help you. The women that you're going to meet today are graduates of our Fibromyalgia Advisor training program. They have spent 3 months with me learning everything I can teach them in 3 months about fibromyalgia. They've learned about medications, they've learned about supplements, they've learned about nutrition and managing pain and self-care and alternative therapies and sleep and energy and thyroid and adrenals and all sorts of other things. So having somebody like this on your team to help guide you and your doctor can really make a huge difference. Now, I want to share something super exciting with you. One of the things that we do in this course is use the Fibromyalgia Impact Questionnaire to measure the impact that fibromyalgia has on somebody's life. The FIQ, the Fibromyalgia Impact Questionnaire, is the measuring stick that is used in research studies. So, for instance, if they were trying to come up with a new medication to treat fibromyalgia, they would use this questionnaire to measure the impact fibromyalgia has on those patients' lives before trying the medication. And then they would measure the impact after trying the medication to see if it helped at all, right? So this is a scale of 0 to 100, 0 being, of course, no impact. In other words, no symptoms, no pain, you're able to do everything that you want to do. And 100 being full impact, right? All the pain, can't do anything, that kind of thing, right? So that's our scale, 0 to 100. The average, based on what the creators of this questionnaire have shared, the average score for fibromyalgia patients is 58.2. And so right in the middle there, that's considered a moderate level of fibromyalgia symptoms. And this class started pretty close to that. They started at an average of 52. Now, before I tell you how these ladies improved their Fibromyalgia Impact Questionnaire score, I want to give you some context. So remember I said that in research studies, they use the FIQ to measure how well a medication helps to improve symptoms. So things like Lyrica, that reduced the Fibromyalgia Impact Questionnaire score by 17.2%. Cymbalta was 20.4, Savella was 32.8. Sometimes they could get a little bit higher scores if they combined things. So for instance, using Lyrica and Cymbalta together had an improvement of 34.1. Things like acceptance and commitment therapy. So this is something you would do with a counselor or a therapist. That improved the FIQ by 27.4%. There was actually a study done in 2016 using health coaching for fibromyalgia, and they found that this particular type of coaching, which is different than what I teach, this is just regular health coaches who are not fibromyalgia experts, they were able to help their patients reduce the impact of fibromyalgia by 35%. So coaching by far, even done by somebody who is not an expert in fibromyalgia, still reduces the impact of fibromyalgia a lot more than even the drugs that are out there or what you could do with a counselor or a therapist. Now, this is the exciting part. This class, on average, has reduced their FIQ from 52 down to 26. They dropped it in half. One of our graduates dropped her FIQ by 74%. This is huge, you guys. This is just after 3 or 4 months of learning about fibromyalgia, learning about ways to treat their fibromyalgia, working with a coach, working with their doctors based on what they learned, and really exploring all the ways that are proven to help people feel better. And so I want you to imagine, what would life be like for you if the impact of fibromyalgia on your life was cut in half? Would that be a significant difference? I think it would be for most people, right? That difference between 52 and 26 is a mild, 26 is like a mild level of symptoms. 52 is a moderate level of symptoms. Now, just so you kind of have an idea what this questionnaire is measuring, we're looking at things like, does fibromyalgia keep you from being able to do things like go to the grocery store, vacuum the floor, stand, walk, brush your hair, right? So, like the actual impact of you being able to live your life. It's measuring things like, are you able to meet the goals that you have for this week? Do you feel depressed? How hopeful are you for your future? What are your symptoms like? What's your sleep like? What's your pain like? What's your energy like? How's your brain fog? And so by measuring all of these different things, doing a little bit of math, we kind of come up with this easier measuring stick. And you guys, this is huge. So at this point, I know what you really want to hear isn't me talking. You want to hear from these gals on, okay, but what did they do, right? So we'll get to that in just a second. But before we do, I want to speak directly to these 3 graduates. I want you guys to know that these ladies did not like set aside their whole lives to take this class and improve their fibromyalgia. They had things going on like renovating. I was just talking with Penny before we went live that, she has no bathrooms upstairs right now because they're remodeling their house. Deaths in the family. Dawn, as you will hear, is a special needs mom. She has a son with autism. That's not something that you'd ever take a vacation from, really. So she's managing him while she's managing herself. There were many times that we would be in class and Nikki's 4-year-old would be right there too, because when you're a full-time mom and you're working and you're taking a class, like sometimes that's just what you have to do, right? So Penny, Nikki, Dawn, I want you guys to know how proud I am of you. You guys showed up every week. You did the work. You did the homework. You worked with your coach. You took in sometimes the tough love, as we'll talk about in our interviews in a minute, but sometimes the hard things to hear, the life changes that you really did have to make in order to feel your best. And you showed up and you did it. And you put your health first, which means now you're going to be able to go out and take care of other people. And it's just been such an honor to watch you and to be your instructor. And I have been so privileged to have a front row seat to everything that you guys are doing and all the changes that you're making. So congratulations. I am so, so proud of you. And I cannot wait to see the changes that you're going to be able to make in the world around you, because now you feel better. You have more energy. You have more to give. Now we are at the portion of today's event that I know you all have been waiting for. This is where we will interview the people who are graduating. Dawn, Penny, Nikki, we are going to interview them and talk about exactly what it is that they've done over the last few months, as well as some of their big aha moments, and to share that with you. So first off, we are going to interview Dawn, and we are kind of going in the order here of most recently diagnosed to our fibro veterans. So Dawn, you were just diagnosed a few months ago, right?
Correct. I started symptoms just in November of 2020, and I was really fortunate. It took me 3 doctors to come to a diagnosis of fibromyalgia. And after hearing that many people take years to get a diagnosis, I really feel fortunate to have gotten mine right away.
Right. I was thinking about this last night. I think you and I first talked probably in February. So it was probably just like days after your diagnosis, right?
Right.
Oh,
right.
Gosh.
I've been an avid hiker for the past 5 years, and I love listening to podcasts while I hike. So when I received my diagnosis, the first thing you're wondering, what are you going to do? And I thought, well, I should see if there's a podcast about fibromyalgia. And of course, I found you. And that was such a wealth of information. And I'm just so grateful that I found out you had this course coming up in March of this year. And so I enrolled.
Oh, that's so great. I wish more people took the kind of action that you took when you were first diagnosed, because getting treatment early can make a huge difference in your outcome. The longer we let things go, the harder it is to recover. So I'm super excited for you that you were like right on the ball. And now that I know you, I can't imagine you doing anything else. Like, that's just who you are.
Absolutely. The thing, I guess, for my own life experience and having a son with autism, what I learned in that journey is there's just so many years of trying to figure out things on your own and going to many, many conferences. And there's just so much information out there. When I heard your podcast and just how on top of it you were in really educating the public, I knew for myself I wanted a really focused way of addressing my own health to get to the answers as quickly as possible.
Right, right. That's one thing I've definitely learned about you. Like, you don't have time to waste, right? Like you've got too much you want to do, too many things you have to do, and like we just don't have time for that. Now, one of the things that you mentioned to me in your final interview was how your coach gave you some tough love that you needed in order to really make some necessary changes. I would love for you to talk about that and a little bit more about how your coach helped you.
Absolutely. Well, my coach is Julie Schiffman, and she was wonderful. So I tear up thinking of that. Anyway, hiking is such a big part of my life and how I manage my stress. And I have a lot of stress having a child with special needs. And one of the things I needed to learn was that I needed to have my body in a healing state for my body to heal. And wrapping my brain around what that meant to start with was challenging, because as someone who loves to be outdoors, being active and physically fit is something that I was used to doing. And the tough love came from her saying I really needed to back off on that in order for my body to heal so that I could get back to hiking again. And it's hard to change course when that's what you love doing.
Right, exactly. It's hard to give those things up that you really love and that really make your life enjoyable. But I think that the important message there is that it's just for a season. Like, we're doing this so that we can get better, so that we can get back to doing it with hopefully without pain and, without crashing and all of that.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I found, that in backing off of it, instead of hiking every day for longer periods of time and distances with my dog, which I love doing that, now I'm just a couple times a week for shorter distances and thinking more on, not going up hills and that type of thing. And while I'm there, I've changed. I'm not listening to podcasts while I hike. Instead, I'm more present in the moment and just really enjoying the nature and my dog, and realizing I can't be out there as long. And it's, because of it, I'm able to hike longer than I was when I first started this course.
That's so great. That's so great. And I know that part of the being outdoors and hiking wasn't just about you too, right? Like it was also a way for you to bond with having three boys.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. As a mom of three boys, I started hiking and backpacking with them as a way to have something in common that we enjoyed doing together. And I actually did a backpacking trip with one of my sons in October of last year on the Superior Hiking Trail. So just before all this happened. And so it's a big change in my life for now. And I really hope that by caring for myself, like you being in remission from your symptoms of fibromyalgia, that's my goal, that I will get there.
Awesome. You totally can. I believe it. I believe it. Now, one of the other things that you have mentioned, it was even part of your bio that I read, was just how important it has been to you having a community of people that really understand what you're going through. And I think a lot of people can relate to that because most of the people that we talk to in our lives do not know what it's like living with fibromyalgia. So, how has that changed things for you?
Oh, I can't say enough good things about the course and my community, my classmates, and you and my coach. All of that put together. I just loved every one of our class sessions and looked forward to that time together. And uh, that was definitely the consistency of that was really something to help me get on the right track as well. I think my decision to do the course was because I know how easy it is in our world full of distractions and always one more thing coming up as a mother, that it's so easy to put your own care to the side and just, you know, forget about it really. And this course really helped me to stay on track with learning the things I needed to learn.
Absolutely. Every week, I'm telling you things like, okay, I want you to analyze your sleep and tell me how you
Right.
can make it better. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep, exactly. Now, I've got to dig in now to the question that everybody is wondering and wanting to know. What have you done over the last 3, 4 months? I know joining the course was one of the things that you've done, working with your coach, but let's dig into a few more specifics. What have you done to improve your fibromyalgia? What has changed for you?
Well, one of the really big things was managing my migraines. Um, I was having 8 to 10 migraines a month when I started this course. And I had just started with a neurologist about almost 2 years before starting the course. So prior to developing fibromyalgia. And I was put on one medication at the time and an emergency medication, and really just that was it. And so the emergency medication was helping as I was having the migraines. And so that was better than just suffering through them. But I wasn't really educated on we can get it better than this. So when I started the course, I did change to a different medication, and that actually was was even made me very loopy and really brain fog. And I lasted 2 weeks on that, and I said, no, this is not going to work. And then you helped me to realize there are now injectable medications, and I pursued that with my neurologist, and that's been a game changer for me. My migraines are now down to 4 to 5 per month. So that's a significant change, reducing it by at least half, if not more. And as a migraine person, you tend to get used to that just happening, and you just put up with it. But you know what? It's a significant amount of your life to be having days of suffering with migraine, and so that's a huge change. So that medication changed both my brain fog in itself, as well as just the suffering with migraines.
Yeah. And did your, one of the things we talk about a lot in the course is how we need to look out for the triggers, right? Like how one pain leads to another pain, which could lead to a fibro flare. Did you find that to be true with your migraines?
Well, the amount of pain that I have is pretty well managed. It's improved since the beginning, since my diagnosis, but the thing associated with that, I guess I would say, is my sleep. I've really focused on becoming more aware of my sleep and tracking my sleep using my Fitbit to track and be aware of the deep sleep and REM sleep. And honestly, I've learned to believe that I can sleep, and I've added different supplements to help with that too. But I'm sleeping through the night. I'm still not sleeping as long as I'd like, but I am getting some decent REM sleep and deep sleep. And so overall, I'm improving. I'm a work in progress, and I'm going to keep on working on it and believe that I can improve that. And, just looking at my whole life, sleep is so important, and sleep affects certainly the migraines as well as your body pain, managing your body pain too.
Absolutely. So to kind of give people an idea of where you were before and where you are now, when you started the course, how much sleep were you getting?
uh, there, one thing that was happening was I love I love the quiet time in the morning because my house is pretty stressful during the day. So I wasn't opposed to having early mornings to myself. So if I would wake up at 4 o'clock, I would just get up for the day. And because in my mind, I felt I'm not going to get back to sleep. So I may as well get up for the day. But now I'm sleeping more till 5:30 or 6, and that's a big difference in your day.
It is, it is. And the quality of your sleep, you're getting better sleep while you are asleep.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
that is huge. That's one of the things that I've found in my own fibro journey. I can go back more than 5 years and I can see that pretty much the only time I've had any fibro pain over the last 5 years, it's because I didn't sleep well. I slept in a bed that was too hard, right? So like sleep for me is the cornerstone for everything else. So, yeah, it's
And I
exciting to
think for
see.
our overall health, just period. So I'm definitely going to keep focusing on that.
That's perfect. So what do you see for yourself in the upcoming months? What are some things that you're going to continue working on? Sleep, one of them. Yeah.
Sleep for sure, but really just keeping myself in a preventing stress state as much as possible. That's one, it's so much easier to keep your body in a calm state than to try and recover from it getting into a flared state. And so if stress is coming on in my household, I do everything I can to try and avoid taking it on directly as much as possible.
That's so good. That's so good. And not an easy thing to do. Oh, goodness. So, as we wrap up, Dawn, I would love for you, if there's anything like the people who are listening, who are, wondering, that's nice for her, but I don't know, like, would that even work for me? Am I a lost cause? I would love for you just to say a couple words to them.
Uh, no matter what, I've been really shocked to hear of people living with fibromyalgia for many, many years, even 20 years of their life, and how much that can impact your life. And all of us, I guess, everyone in my class, we're all mothers, and we're all living lives where you put your kids first and everyone else first. And this is something that I just think you really need, as in anything with your health. You have to take care of yourself first to be able to be fully available to your family and the rest of your life. And so my advice would be just believe that you are worth that, and to prioritize your own health is the best way to really take care of your family, because then you can be there happily. I said, right now I'm thinking of early in the course one time saying that I was even getting short with my dog. And that's a problem when you are impatient with your dog. So yeah, take care of yourself, and that's the best way to be there for your family too.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. It's the whole old thing, right? About putting your own oxygen mask on first before you help the other people around you, because you can't effectively help them if you're tired and in pain and grumpy with your dog. Oh, well, congratulations, Dawn. It's been such a pleasure having you in class, and I wish you all the best and even more improvement.
Thank you very much, Tammy. You've been wonderful, and I can't recommend the class enough. Tammy is just such a caring person, and the fact that she includes as part of her class makeup the requirement that you work with a coach during the class. It's so important, and something that, again, people might not say they're going to give that gift to themselves, to have the time with a coach. And the fact that she includes that as part of the advisor course, it really makes it all work together beautifully.
Oh, thank you so much, Dawn. And congratulations again.
Thank you.
All right, now we are going to our next person who, with fibromyalgia. Penny, like I said, is our 20-year veteran. Nichi, you're kind of in the middle here. So welcome and congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be graduating today.
I know. And Nichi, I have always felt is sort of my my Oregon sister. I may live in Washington now, but I'm still an Oregonian at heart.
That's great.
Oregon's still awesome. I love it. So welcome from Oregon. And, speaking of living in Oregon, because you do live in Oregon, you have had the fortune to go to one of our top fibro doctors. But still, you hired a coach. And I know a lot of people would be curious about that. So tell us why you took that next step.
Yeah, I think for me, I do have the tremendous blessing to be able to work with one of the top fibro specialists in the country. And still, there's never enough time in a doctor's visit to actually dig deep into everything that you really need to in order to address such a complex issue like fibromyalgia. And so being able to work with a coach gave me a much better understanding of things that I might need to bring up to my doctor, because of course you don't know what you don't know. It gave me so much better idea of how to just live my life, because the doctor can address with you medications and ways to kind of medically take care of yourself, but fibromyalgia requires a lot more than just medication in order to be a functioning human being. And so that opportunity to work with the coach really helped me a lot.
Right. I think of some of those things as sort of life hacks, right? And it could be dumb little things like, here's how to clean your house easier. Right. Or have a stool in your bathroom so that you can sit down while you brush your teeth, and some of those little things, of course, your doctor's not focusing on that because she's trying to figure out your sleep and your thyroid function and, all of these other things. Right.
Yeah. And you have everyone's life, of course, that's so unique. And being able to work with someone one-on-one who can take the time to really dig into your specific situation and the ways in which your life might be impacting your illness is incredibly helpful.
Absolutely. Now, you worked with a coach for quite a while before you joined the training program, but I don't remember exactly how long that was. When did you hire your coach versus when you joined the class?
I think it was about 2 or probably a couple of months at least before I joined the class. And I think I decided to take the next step because I started seeing improvement in myself. And that really made me a believer that something could change. And really, make a significant impact. And I'm just I just have a huge hunger for knowledge. And so I love learning and learning all the science behind different treatments or underlying issues was really helpful in keeping my motivation up, and just soaking in everything I could from you. And all the amazing resources that you provided as well. Just is a wonderful, and even like learning, being able to take it, then continue on and keep reading additional information about comorbidities or what else might be going on.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. One of the things that you said that I can certainly relate to is that when I know all of the science and stuff behind things, it's so much easier to stay motivated when oh, that's why this helps, right? Like it's easier to keep doing the thing because you know what it's doing and why it's working. It's not just some random, well, I guess my doctor told me to,
Right. Some person told me to do this. And so, that can only get you so far. Being able to learn the underlying whys and mechanisms behind why different things are supposed to work is incredibly helpful, I think.
That's awesome. Was there anything that this isn't a question I was originally going to ask you, but was there anything in the class because the class isn't focused only on you, it's focused on like the whole big picture. Was there anything in class that you were like, I had no idea that should even be on my radar?
Oh yeah. I mean, certainly. Like for instance, thyroid function, who'd have thunk that might have anything to do with it. And especially when commonly like your thyroid labs, which might have been tested time and again, because I've always complained of fatigue for years and years. And it always looks fine. And so, yeah, learning how that can actually interact and impact fibromyalgia, and how kind of standard range lab tests are not necessarily going to give you the information that you need to take care of your body in the best way possible. Yeah, it makes a big difference. There were a lot of different therapies I hadn't considered trying. I feel like I've just got a ton of tools now in my toolbox. And I can pull my favorites out at any time.
I like a well-equipped toolbox myself.
Yes. Absolutely.
Oh, that's so great. So over the last few months, the golden question everybody is wondering, we've talked about some of these things, but what would you say over the last few months has been the biggest game changer for you?
Yeah, I think, well, certainly I've changed some medications and supplements, but I think really the biggest things that made a difference, and thank you, Giselle, to give a shout out to my coach, who I think is here today. Just learning how to find my limits and honor and respect those limits to prevent a flare from coming on. Getting off the roller coaster of my body. I was just riding pain waves, and then I would feel better and push and then crash. And it took a long time for me to hop off that train, but it has been amazing. And now I have a much better sense through pacing and just learning how to carefully tune into my body and understand the signals that it's sending me. And then how to react to those different signals at any given moment has given me so much in the way of preventing those massive flares that would take days or weeks or even months to recover from. And yeah, it really I'm going out tonight. I have a kid-free night, and 5 months ago, that is not something I would even have considered doing. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I love that. And I love that phrase, riding the roller coaster of your body. I think so many of us can relate to that, right? Because so many of us come into fibromyalgia in a state of reacting to what's happening to us, right? And we feel very much like things are happening to us and that we don't have any control over it, right? We can't make plans for next week because I don't even know how I'm going to feel. So has that shifted for you? Do you feel more in control?
Absolutely. And I can definitely have a much better understanding of what will put me into a flare. And if you decide something is flare worthy, maybe you make a calculated choice to do that thing, but there are ways to prepare yourself for that. There are ways to recover appropriately from something like that. That even if you do decide to kind of cross that line, that you can ride through it much better. But ideally, you're not. And learning how to not cross that line has given me a much more even keel pain and energy level that I can rely on. So I know what to anticipate.
Mm-hmm. And that, I think, makes all the difference in being able to enjoy our lives, right? Like having a predictable level of energy and pain to be able to make plans, and those kinds of things. It's such a difference from an experience point of view, right? Like the pain level might not really be all that different, or maybe it is, but it's just like, you can count on it. You know what it's going to be. You can make plans.
Yes. And to be clear, the pain level is not the same.
Good. I like that too. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, I know over the last few months, it hasn't just been, I'm reminded of that drawing maybe some of you have seen about the path to progress. You know, we think that the path to improvement sometimes is just like a straight line going up, but really it's a line that goes up and down and over and around, and eventually we kind of work our way up. And your journey has been a bit like that, with new diagnoses along the way, not just a steady improvement. You want to talk about that just a little bit?
Yes. So most recently, actually, I was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, hypermobility type. And as it turns out, that is not uncommon among fibromyalgia folks. It's actually a pretty common comorbidity. And I actually really now believe it's driving a lot of my fibromyalgia pain, and it's a really recent diagnosis. I'm grabbing my shoulder because it actually hurts right now.
For instance, right?
I'm working now, I know, and I'm working through physical therapy, and I have a lot of confidence that as I work to build up the muscles around my joints, that it's going to relieve a lot of my pain. And as we've learned, pain begets pain. And so if I can clear up those structural issues, that's going to help calm down my nervous system enough to allow the rest of my pain to come down. So yeah, it's not a straight and linear path, but as you uncover more and more, you start to get to the root of things, and you can address those other issues that might be exacerbating the fibromyalgia.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like you said, pain begets pain, right? Like I often say one good pain leads to another. I mean, that's kind of how we end up in fibro flares. One little thing will hurt, and then it'll just sort of spread. And if we can take out that, whatever it was that originated the pain, whether it's a bad knee or a bad shoulder or Ehlers-Danlos or sleep apnea or, whatever it is, that will then remove that trigger that won't spread. Right. And that lowers our overall pain. So it's such a good thing. Yeah. Yeah. So as we wrap up, I'll ask you the same thing I asked Dawn. So for everybody who's out there listening, who's like, I still don't know, like, could I actually feel better? What would you say to them?
Absolutely, yes. I am a member of several fibromyalgia Facebook groups, and it always makes me so sad to see the folks on there who are feeling hopeless and are in that place of desperation that I was, and not really understanding that there is hope for feeling better, and that you don't have to live like this and just feel terrible all of the time. You can learn to live better, and everyone should try it for sure.
I love it. I love it. And I totally agree. I mean, really, what do you have to lose, right? Like at best, we get to feel better. And at worst, nothing changes, right? So what have we got to lose? Well, thank you again, Nichi, and congratulations. I'm so excited to see where you go from here. I know you're already a yoga instructor, so yoga for chronic pain is not a wild and crazy stretch. So we'll be watching you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tammy.
You're so welcome. All right. Next off, we are going to our fibro veteran, Penny, who has had fibromyalgia for a long, long time, 20 years, right, Penny?
At least. I'm not really sure of how long at this point.
Oh, I know, because part of your story was getting a wrong diagnosis and wrong treatment for many years, which I know is not something that's horribly unusual. So why don't we start with, as somebody who has had fibromyalgia for a long time, why did you want to even take the class, or did you feel like you already knew it all?
in some ways I felt like I already knew it all, which is a really scary place probably to be. But I am truly a learner and I love to take in new information. And I was probably starting into one of the worst crashes that I've had in a very, very long time. And I think that I could feel that coming on, but I didn't know what to do to stop it. And I felt like this would give me the information that I would need to be able to kind of curtail that, or at least hopefully to start to feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. So you knew you were headed into a flare before you even started the class?
Yeah, I believe that I did. I mean, I can say 2.5 years ago, I did a sprint triathlon. Did I do it without pain? No, but I did it. And if you had asked me 6 months ago, would I even think about doing that? It would have been the last thing that I would have said that I could ever even attempt to do. So, yeah.
So even if you didn't know, you knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So then what surprised you about the class? Did you get what you expected out of it? Was it different than you thought?
I don't know that I really had any idea what to expect, but I can tell you that I never imagined there was so much information to be had or to digest, from medications to supplements to treatments to therapies. I think that at some points I was almost like overwhelmed because for 20 years I've been like, suck it up, buttercup, and move on. And so to learn that there were other things that you could do to make things better was, it was a little overwhelming at times, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think I've heard that from other students who've taken the class, particularly people like you who have had fibromyalgia for a long time. It's like, I had no idea. And just, speaking to the audience for a quick sec, if you were diagnosed back in like the 90s, the early 2000s, so much has changed. There's been so much research that's been done. We know so much more. So if you were diagnosed then and told, there's not much that can be done, that is absolutely not true. Yeah. So what were some of the things that you were like, I had no idea this existed, and wow, this is a game changer?
I think there were so many supplement things that we can do before you even go to medications, but medication also, and we'll get to that. But just the supplements that you can take, like I did simple things like magnesium to reduce my muscle tension, or just I was on the very surface of all of those things, and to learn that that your serotonin levels have anything to do with your pain levels, or that just how all of that connects together. I had never made those connections before. So,
yeah. That's great. That's great. So let's talk about those medications then. Because I know that there was a little bit of a journey there for you when it came to medications. So
we
let's
can
talk
say
about
Coach
that.
Tough Love was one of those things. And it's interesting. So I found your podcast probably maybe like 12 episodes in, and I hurried up and went back and listened to all of them. And I've listened to it regularly since then. Sometimes doing the practices that you had on your podcast, and sometimes bookmarking them to do them later. And one of the things you had talked about some different medications, and I had gone to my doctor and they were like, no, but it had been several years. So like literally I was an early. So this time I felt when I went back to my doctor, I was armed with information, and I could say, hey, there's things out there that we could try. And she wasn't opposed to it. And suddenly the thing that I had taken her brochure on or information on 2 years ago, she was like, oh, maybe we could try one of these. And I'm like, yeah, maybe we could do that. But also, I have always been medication adverse. I'll just put it that way. Because like so many fibromyalgia patients, you take something and you may not have the same response to it as what other people might have. Like our response might be magnified. to whatever it might be, whether it be an allergy medication that might make some people wired, might make me drowsy, or the reverse, or whatever it might be. And so I think I have been very adverse to even trying anything for fear out of what my response would be. I have a lot of allergic reactions to things, so that it's like a ingrained paranoia of what's going to happen if I try this, and do I really even want to go there? So needless to say, yes, I went there, and yes, I'm trying. And like I've told you, I don't know that it's going to be the end all be all. I don't know that I'll stick with this same routine forever, and maybe supplements can replace what I'm trying, but eventually. But for right now, the difference in the pain level that I had when I started, like you said, I dropped ridiculous number of points, and is so dramatic. I can barely put it into words.
That's so amazing. Like I jokingly said to Nichi, being 100% serious, I like a well-equipped toolbox. And I think medications are one of those tools that should probably be utilized more than they are. And when I say medications, I'm not just talking about opioid pain medications. There are a lot of different things out there to treat a lot of different things. And I think it can be important to explore all those options.
Right.
Yeah. So talk about that tough love your coach gave you.
My poor coach.
Your poor coach.
My poor coach. Julie was awesome. She was extremely patient. She probably had to have like 4 or 5 weeks where she said the same thing to me every time, and was probably going like, is she ever going to get it? Is this going to click? I mean, it was simple things like, I was working 10, 12, 14-hour days. Like, do you get up in the middle of your day? No, I'm in my chair the whole time. Well, you need to take at least 10-minute breaks. Like, just get up and move from your chair. Like, just.
It might be good to drink some water and go to the bathroom occasionally. Have lunch.
Lunch, breakfast, not at your desk, which is in my dining room next to my kitchen. Like those kind of things right now. It's COVID brought a lot of things to a lot of people. I can't say that less work was one of those for me. So there were a lot of long hours, and setting limits on those hours was one of my biggest adjustments.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I remember at one point about halfway through getting an email from your coach saying, she's headed for a crash. I keep telling her she's headed for a crash, and I don't know what's going to happen.
And she had no idea the crash would come in a trip and fall on my face, which literally crashed. Coordination has never been my strong suit, but I think that the pain levels, the exhaustion, all of it just kind of added up. And then you do things like trip when you normally would not trip and fall. And that made me hold still in a different way. Like sitting at a desk is one thing, to hold still in a different way and just really reevaluate, like, okay, let's get this, like, let's pull back. And I need to change my trajectory, because the direction I am going is not where I need to go. Nikki's roller coaster wasn't even on the rails for me. It was gone.
Oh, yep. And you've had a lot of stuff going on over the last few months, in addition to fibromyalgia and 12, 14-hour days, no bathrooms upstairs. That's got to be super fun right now. Right. So I know we talked about learning some new supplements, trying some new medications. What other things have you done over the last few months? What do you think has made a difference in your fibromyalgia symptoms dropping so much?
So one of the things that I had done pre-COVID was always go for massage therapy every other week. If not every other week, at least once a month. And during COVID, I had not done that. And just getting back into that routine, I will say, like, the self-care things. And for me, that's one of the biggest ones. It makes a huge difference for me. So that was one of the things that I got back to. And then my sleep routine, we've talked about sleep. That sleep routine is so important for me, like, and I'm one of those weird ones. I get up early in the morning, but I like to go to bed earlier in the evening. But just keeping that same routine is extremely important for me.
Now, I know, like, self-care is not the glamorous answer everybody wants to know. We want to know, like, but what pill did you take? What was the magic, whatever. So I would love for you to just kind of address that really quick.
The self-care.
Yeah.
It makes such a huge difference, from anything as simple as taking a bath in Epsom salts, or self-care could just be, I don't know, like sitting down when you know you need to sit down, or standing up in a meeting when you know you need to stand up, and not like bearing through the pain because you're sitting in a chair that is uncomfortable. So it's just paying attention to your body and responding to your body, to alleviate some of those things that otherwise might put you in pain for the rest of the day or the rest.
Yeah. I think often self-care is
nothing glamorous, nothing expensive.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, I think a lot of times self-care is like why we do the things we do, right? Like, just not forcing ourselves to, like you said, bear through it all, right? Or just like grit your teeth and get through it, but just honoring what your body is telling you, right? And if you need to take a break, take a break. If you need to stand up, if you need to sit down, if you need a hot bath, if you need a massage every other week, like whatever it is, that's why we do what we do.
Yes.
Yep, exactly. So I'll ask you, like I asked the other ladies, for the people who are out there thinking, I don't know, this all sounds good, but could I really do it? Would this really help me to work with a coach? What would you say?
Oh, 100%. Like, I have no doubts in my mind. I wish I had done it sooner. Even probably when I was feeling better, I felt like I've been on an island by myself for a very long time. And to realize that there's support on your island is a whole new experience. Not just the support from our class, the support from my coach. Even just finding your podcast was like a game changer for me. It helped me communicate with my family as to how I felt, because it's very hard to describe this to other people sometimes. It's also very hard you look fine from the outside. And so it's hard to get that across to other people. Like, yeah, I look fine from the outside, but you have no idea on the inside, I just want to lay down. Like, I don't even want to go to sleep. I just want to lay down. So that's a hard explanation to give to people. And so working with a coach gave me the push that I needed to move beyond and change the things that I was doing. And I don't know that I would have done that. I'm not sure where you would have found me at this point, probably in bed. To think that I work in HR, so that's where my brain goes, but I was literally thinking of FMLA for myself before I started with my coach, because I didn't know what else I was going to do. And I didn't know how to move beyond where I was.
And just feeling sort of like out of options and stuck, I imagine.
Yes. And I'm envious of the specialists in fibromyalgia, the doctors. I go to a wonderful, like, integrative clinic. However, even there, it's really hard for them to devote the amount of time to and understand what fibromyalgia really is. I mean, I've just taken a 12-week course and I feel like I could go take it all over again. And I would learn all new things all over again.
Right, right. And your doctor probably didn't even have a 1-hour class. She probably just had like a mention as part of a class on like chronic pain in general, right? So at this stage, you're much more educated in fibromyalgia than she is.
Yes. But,
Yeah.
and I think that what I learned was to have the confidence to know that, like, not to try and undermine what your doctor thinks or what they know or the information that they have, but it's supposed to be a partnership and to be able to work with them, and to not have that knowledge going into that and relying on a doctor who might not have all the information. I think it's so helpful to be able to go in and have an educated conversation with your doctor and be able to talk about all of the things that might impact you, not just you're stressed out, because that is often the what you get when you go to the doctors. Oh, it's probably you're just stressed out. Well, yeah, stress definitely makes it worse. However, it's not the only factor.
Right, right. It's change your diet, exercise, and go meditate. And it's like, well, yes, I do need to do those things, but not just those things. Like it's more to it than that. Yep, exactly. Well, congratulations again, Penny. It's been a pleasure having you in class, and I'm excited to have you in our coach class. Any last minute thoughts you want to share, since you are, like I told you earlier, our anchor leg? Wrap this all up for us.
I think that my last thought would be is don't give up. Don't give up and don't accept where you are. If you're in pain, if you're so exhausted that you just can't get off that couch, like, there are things that can be done. And maybe you can absorb all the information all at one time, but a coach would be a fabulous way to like get started on that journey and have them help you find that information and have them present it to you in a way that you can get it in little bites at a time and try those things to see if only one of the things that they recommend is an answer for you. Like, how much better would you be with that one thing than you are with nothing?
Yep, absolutely. Thank you so much for saying that, Penny. That's such a beautiful way to wrap up our interviews. And congratulations again.
Thank you.
And that wraps up another episode of the Fibromyalgia Podcast. If you're ready to see if working with a fibromyalgia coach can help you feel better faster, visit fibromyalgiapodcast.com, where you can schedule a complimentary consultation to explore your options. During this call, we'll discuss your fibromyalgia journey, what your needs and challenges are, and give you recommendations on how to reach your goals the quickest way possible. Thank you for tuning in today, and join us next time as we explore more ways to help you take back control of your life and health. My music and sound editing were done by Daniel Munkus at Subtle Soup Records. Podcast management and creative copy by Sonia Louise of Performance Podcasting.